The truth is, the power of determining if we have it all or not lies entirely within us, right? No one can even agree on what having it all means. So why are we fighting so hard for it? We have to decide ourselves what is important to us. And we have to discard these stereotypes and societal expectations that are not. And we must accept that this is all deeply personal and can only be found within ourselves. Your job is to rewire your brain with the power of your own mind. That's what neuroplasticity is all about. That's what the human experience is all about. To uncover and rediscover what we are, human beings, feeling and thinking beings, and by doing so, creating our experience from a moment-to-moment basis. Expand your consciousness into a world where mindfulness meets neuroscience. My name is Fernanda Lind, and I am your host. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wire to Win show. I'm excited to bring you today's episode. My name is Fernanda, by the way. I'm the founder and the CEO of Rewired Global. Rewired Global is an international coaching powerhouse that helps women and men actually now as well, but women and men in leadership reach their full potential, create sustainable success, and make a difference in the world without sacrificing themselves in the process. Our revolutionary coaching program for top women executives helps them rewire their brain and change their mental blueprint so they can achieve higher levels of performance, lead their teams to success, and have more impact. In other words, Rewired Global is helping women take the lead by changing the way they think about success. My mission for you, as always, is to stretch your thinking, to challenge you, and to show you what is possible. And most importantly of all, to help you, my dear listener, become the leader of tomorrow. So with that said, let's dig into today's episode. If you are a woman listening right now, you are undoubtedly familiar with the phrase, having it all, right? I mean, depending on the context, it can, I think, be heard as both empowerment, an insult, maybe even sarcasm. And it paints either the picture of a woman on top, like dominating her career while also maintaining a happy, healthy home and thriving social life, or just a burnt out female failing to do a million tasks that she is juggling to the level of perfectionism she would like, right? And it's no wonder that hearing the term having it all, I would say, raises a lot of mixed feelings. And today I want to explore that with you here. I want to track down the origins of this phrase and unravel why we use it nearly exclusively when talking about women who are successful in their careers. And I want to explore if we can really have it all or want to have it all. So let's get started. If we trace the roots of this now very commonplace phrase through history, and this is very, very interesting, by the way, so stay with me, okay? It appears in the late 1970s. And it is fascinating because according to feminism scholar Ruth Rosen, it first appeared as a marketing pitch directed toward liberated consumers. And in the 1980s, Joyce Gabriel and Betty Baldwin published a book called, and this was 1980s, published a book called Having It All, a practical guide to managing a home and career. And their book was full of tips on how a working mother could maximize her productivity, like strive to do things at once, let your nail polish set while you blow dry your hair. Oh my God, right? And we're talking the 1980s here. That's insane. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, so many mixed feelings come up just hearing this, and I totally cringe internally. But okay, let's roll with this. But here's the thing. This was the first time having it all was presented as a uniquely female phenomenon and one that required going beyond the normal effort to achieve it. And 2 years later, Helen Gurley Brown, longtime editor of Cosmopolitan magazine, she published Having It All. Love, success, sex, money, even if you're starting with nothing. And Brown's goal was to reach women who might be ready to achieve more than the average woman and were willing to work for it. And she said that, like her, these women were not particularly pretty, smart, or privileged, but they had the means to succeed nonetheless. And Brown's work presented advice that is very of the time of its publication. She suggests that sleeping with your boss in exchange for a promotion is sometimes a very great option. And she advocates for a tiny touch of anorexia to maintain an ideal weight and advises women to lean into self-deprecating humor in the workplace. And again, ladies, this was not long ago. And however ill-advised its contents, Brown's book pushed the having it all concept into the pop culture world, where it has, I would say, persisted for decades. And some feel the phrase carries fierce feminine undertones, proclaiming that women like men deserve anything and everything they desire. And others feel the opposite, actually, because it sets the stage for women to be expected to do it all, while men continued to focus, I would say, only on their careers. Women have, of course, been doing it all long before this public shift. I mean, let's get real and honest here. Single mothers have always worked, raised children, managed a household, and in many families, both parents have worked for as long as anyone can remember, out of desire or necessity. But this was the shift to it being glamorized and mainstream. And it is perhaps no coincidence that in the US, for example, this shift happened shortly after reproductive rights were secured for women in the 70s. So women finally could choose when and how to have it all. Yeah, when and how to have a family, for example. And as women continued to gain foot in the professional world, the extent of what having it all could mean also grew. Women could run companies, build personal wealth, shape politics, and more. But as our opportunities in the professional world continued to expand, our individual responsibilities were not shrinking. And this is when that thought of having it all shifted, feeling like a punishment instead of a reward. So stop here for a moment and think about this, because we talk a lot about this with our clients, where their definition of success and their definition of having it all is conflicted and embedded in it. There's a lot of fear of sacrifices that have to be made in order to have it all. And for women in leadership, this is a very real dilemma and struggle that creates frustration and a lot of suffering. In 2012, the first female director of policy planning for the State Department in the US, her name is Anne Marie Slaughter, published a brutal examination of having it all in the Atlantic. And from the outside, Slaughter was the epitome of having it all: a glamorous, high-power career, mother of two, wife, a friend of the Obamas, acquaintance of nearly every head of state in the world. But no one knew that she was desperate for her tenure in Washington to end. And she was constantly worried about her two sons back home, or was time for the days of simply 50-hour work weeks that awaited her upon her return to teaching at Princeton. But when she did return to normal life, she was astounded at the reaction she got from other females. Some were disappointed that she was no longer fulfilling her supposed duty as a role model. Some were condescending, claiming they were able to raise her children and pursue an ambitious career. And this is the backlash for many women leaders today. On top of expecting them to do it all, they are expected to sacrifice a lot to stay as role models of someone that has it all. And Slaughter was inspired by these reactions to speak out about the narrative, again, of having it all. And in her Atlantic piece, she writes about how for so long she was able to manage. It wasn't like she was a woman of leisure before entering politics. She was a law professor and dean of a college at Princeton. So she worked long hours but had flexibility. Then when she went to Washington and into a high seat of power, she began her work day at 4 a.m. and ended after businesses were closed, meaning all of her errands, grocery shopping, like personal stuff, dry cleaning, haircuts, everything had to happen on weekends during the time she wanted to be with her children. And she learned that for many working women, this was the norm. Her 14-year-old son began failing his classes, stopped speaking to her. Her husband became the full-time parent, but she still spent many, many evenings just commuting from DC to New Jersey to kind of sort out her problems in the family. And I mean, anyone relate here? I mean, if you're listening to this, you might relate. This is still the reality for many, many women at the top today. And just as you listening, you might be feeling, the same thing. Slaughter learned too that she was not the only woman in power to feel this way, that, the it in having it all, that it wasn't worth the trade-off. And she also, I would say, accurately argues that until society changes, it will be extraordinarily difficult, if not impossible, for most women to balance positions of power and healthy personal life. And let me say that again, because this is crucial. Until society changes, it will be extraordinarily difficult, if not impossible, for most women to balance positions of power and healthy personal life. And I agree wholeheartedly with this, because we can change ourselves and we must redefine success, but it cannot be on an individual level only. A systemic change must happen too. So there is a collective shift that we have to make. We need change. We work with women from all over the world. A lot of our clients are based in the US. And for example, now with a recent reversal of Roe versus Wade, American women are now facing, I would say, even increased obstacles in planning their families and balancing work and life. And it has become harder than ever. And I just want to make it clear that I stand firmly behind women having the choice to have an abortion. It's absolutely unacceptable that their bodily autonomy is taken away from them. I mean, I'm horrified and deeply saddened by women, and not only in the US, unfortunately, but in many countries not being able to have safe abortions. But here's the thing. There continues to be a pervasive feeling that women should simply be able to handle it all, as evidenced again by Slaughter's experience, even with no societal supports in place, which is a reality for many women across the globe. Women still feel pressured to excel on all fronts. Why? Well, Slaughter points out several lies that have caused this, and I want to share them with you because I think this is really valuable and eye-opening on many, many levels. And she says that the first lie we are told is that it is possible to have it all, be a top woman in leadership, have fulfilling personal life if you're just committed enough. And we see this all the time. I mean, everything we lack is because of something lacking within us. So if we just worked harder, if we just didn't give up, if we just put in 70 hours instead of 60, if we just people please a little bit more, if we just look more polished and articulated. I've already talked, I think, in previous episodes about just how untrue this is, how our brains can literally only be productive for so long. But again, aside from neurological reasons, other factors prevent this from being true. According to a 2021 Korn Ferry analysis, women still hold only a quarter of the 5 critical C-suite positions, and only 4.8% of CEO positions. Female CEOs run just 4.8% of the world's largest businesses on the Global 500. So let me just repeat that. I feel like I get so passionate about this. Women hold only 4.8% of CEOs' positions globally. Simply put, women are still not being given equal opportunities to men, despite matching their qualifications. So there is no amount of individual commitment that's going to change those odds. I mean, seriously, have we not worked hard enough to earn a seat at the table? And among us who have made it to the C-suite, balance is still more complicated for us to achieve than our male peers. We know that with COVID, with the pandemic, that it pushed women out of the workforce at nearly double the rate of men. So many women are now even more disadvantaged as they attempt to regain ground lost in managing virtual schooling, taking over childcare, providing care for the elderly and the disabled. And Another lie women are told about the ability to have it all is that it is possible if you just marry the right person. I mean, deep breath here. In a commencement address to Barnard College, Sheryl Sandberg famously said, "The most important career decision you're going to make is whether or not you have a life partner and who that partner is." And then she goes on to say, "I don't know of one woman in a leadership position whose life partner is not fully, and I mean fully, supportive of her career." And I'm going to be honest, I'm conflicted about this because can the right partner make a marked difference in your success? Sure. It's helpful, obviously, to have a supportive partner. But believing that all that stands between us and C-suite domination is a smart marriage and needing to have a supportive partner is simply not true. I mean, this assumption, it doesn't even account for families with two female caregivers, or families where both partners have demanding careers, or single parents. Yes, it doesn't even make sense. And the last lie that Slaughter writes about is the belief that having it all is possible if you just sequence it correctly. Or, in other words, you can have it all, just you can't have it all at once. And this lie is something I see being internalized a lot in the younger career women I work with. They've been fed this lie. They work really hard to time their career and their life achievements. So first they study hard, then they get a nice job, and they work really hard to get to the top. Then they find, they try to find a perfect supportive partner again. And then when all is perfect, a house and kids. But timing perfectly your life, career, family, partnership, balancing it all is an impossible task and doomed to fail. And again, it does not even make sense. Life cannot be perfectly planned, ever. It is a lie that ruins the chances of having a fulfilled life. So putting your career first in the sequence, the idea is that you put your career first, you get your graduate degree, you climb the corporate ladder, get to the top, and then begin focusing on your family, your personal life. And in theory, you have the money to hire the help you need, and you've secured your career already, so you can afford to step away when needed. But the reality, however, is very different. It is that women who wait to have children until their late 30s or 40s can struggle for years to conceive, exhausting both bank accounts and their mental health in the process, plus adding stress to their relationships. And again, the truth is, there is no ideal time or perfect sequence to the perfect career or having a family when you are a woman in leadership. And here's what I want to say. We don't have to change the way we lead, but we need to rewire it. I think it's fair to say we've established that having it all, in the traditional sense, is kind of bullshit. But we will want those things. We still want those things, right? We want a career, successful career, big professional goals. We want, families, a personal life, a social life. So what do? Well, again, we have to rewire. We have to define for ourselves what having it all means and push for, I would say, innovation that moves us closer to expanding that definition. We have to rethink success and redefine what having it all means to us. And this begins with acknowledging the fallacies of the having it all belief. We've been wired to believe that there are lots of women out there who are doing everything just fine. But we know now that it's simply not true. The data doesn't even support that claim. There are some women out there who are attempting to do everything. And a lot of those women, like Anne-Marie Slaughter, are not enjoying it all. They are just pressured into looking like they are to uphold the lie. And the few women who are truly doing it all and are happy with it are into superhumans. And seriously, we should not hold ourselves up to their accomplishments as a measuring stick for success. Okay, here's the thing. Dismantling these falsehoods takes time and practice. Whenever you are faced with a feeling of, I'm just not trying hard enough, I'm just not doing enough, my timing was all wrong, you must address the roots of those feelings and uncover the lie. It begins with you rewiring your thinking, and it demands a collective shift in mindset. Another component of the rewiring is your definition of all. The truth is, the power of determining if we have it all or not lies entirely within us, right? No one can even agree on what having it all means. So why are we fighting so hard for it? We have to decide ourselves what is important to us. And we have to discard these stereotypes and societal expectations that are not. And we must accept that this is all deeply personal and can only be found within ourselves. And here's the thing, it begins and ends with you. As a leader, as a woman, it takes courage to do the inner work necessary to really reveal your deepest desires. But we only get one turn on this planet, right? So it is absolutely worth it. Some of us may discover that sacrificing ourselves in the pursuit of having it all is just something we don't want. It's just something we feel pressure to want by our society or families or peers. For others, though, it might be realizing that we are happiest when we're driving global change and having more impact, and that breaking the glass ceiling is exactly our calling and what we are here to do. But finally, we must take this rewiring to the world through our positions in leadership and the voting booth. We must use our privilege, and I cannot stress this enough, to create sustainable change for women globally, to break down barriers to these top-tier roles. Again, using our power to pave the way for other females is going to increase our representation and allow for meaningful change. This is the invitation for all women, and especially for women in positions of power. We need more women in positions of power, and we need more women who can implement real societal change to better the work-life balance of all women. So again, the invitation to you listening here today is to just stop here and think, and to feel into the need to have it all and to explore your definition of having it all. All right, beautiful people. I hope that you have enjoyed today's episode. This is it for today. Let me know by leaving a review for the show over at Apple Podcasts. I would really appreciate that. And yeah, I hope that whatever you are in the world, that you're having a fabulous day or evening. And I'm going to be seeing you here next week on the Wired to Win show. Bye, everyone.